growing up, I was the little kid. I was the youngest of three for quite a while, youngest of three girls. And I was the one that always wanted to be outside, play with the boys. I always wanted to go biking, skateboarding, play in the dirt, play sports at recess. I didn't really like the hopscotch or swings type deal with the girls. And so one of my favorite adventures was that I got a bug collecting kit for, I believe it was my birthday. I don't remember which year, but I would go outside and find the coolest bugs. Like I would collect butterflies, daddy long legs, cockroaches, and I was so excited of what I found that I would bring it inside and show my mom, and she was not a fan of the bugs being inside. It's like, well, I just found like my new pets, come on. And so yeah, some of them had names, but they only lived a day. And so, and my hair was always crazy, and I was always covered in dirt by the time it was time to come in for dinner. So I grew up by the ocean quite a bit. Lived about 10 minutes away, and I had quite a few encounters with ocean animals. Like one time I was surfing with my neighbors, and I was just waiting for a wave to come, and then all of a sudden I see this like somewhat small shark. I don't know what kind of shark it was, but like, oddly enough, I was calm. I just kind of swam away. It's like, okay, I'm done. Peace out. And then another one was my friend and I, one of my best friends, Kim, we were getting the seaweed out of the ocean so we could at least enjoy the water without getting wrapped up in it. And then I was the last one to shore with a big, like, armful of seaweed, and then all of a sudden I feel something on my ankle. So I looked down, and it was a camouflage crab that was about big. It was big. Then I shook it off, and luckily it didn't hurt. And then all of a sudden it was starting to like claw at me. And so I grabbed my friends, and they took it to the other side of the beach. And then while taking on the other side, we saw someone catch a shark. So that was fun. And then like got to see many dolphins and a humpback whale while living in California. So the ocean is my serenity place, really. It's a place full of relaxation. Not to mention the ocean sunset is something that everyone should watch in person. So when I was quite little, my parents split up when I was 2, and then fast forward to being almost 6 years old, my dad got remarried to my stepmom. It was one of the coolest days, and it was an adventure waiting to happen. And my stepmom, she took on being a wife and a mother of 3 in one day. What a champion she is. And I just remember when I was 5 and a half, almost 6, when they got married, that I got a whole bunch of new family members, a lot of new cousins that were around my age. And all I remembered that day was that lots of camera time, a lot of pictures, and that my cousins would bring me food and drinks during the reception. And I'd say that this was the start of something new. I was pretty excited. So fast forward to 1996. That was my family's first camping trip, just with us 5. My dad, my stepmom, and my 2 older sisters and I. And it was over Memorial Weekend, and it was up in the Jordanelle Camping Ground River area. Not quite sure where it was. And then we got up there so excited to go camping, and what happened? It rained the whole weekend. I was like, that kind of spoiled the fun because as a little kid, I wanted to go explore. But we ended up just staying there the whole entire time. And it was the best time. My mom even said, you girls are here for family time and you will have fun. There was no option at all. And then we go back to our home, and my dad just told me, saying that when he asked somebody, did you guys get any rain? And he's like, no, not one bit. So here we are spending family time, just playing Uno in the tent the whole entire time. It was a blast. So I was the youngest for about 13 years, and I was eager to get a brother. And and my little brother came 7 years after my parents got married, after my dad got remarried to my stepmom. And I was so ecstatic to have a younger sibling, let alone a baby brother. And so the hype was there. And then when Jeffrey was actually born, I kind of had like a sad moment for a sec. Like, I'm no longer the youngest child. It's like all the attention will go to him, which it did. But I wouldn't change being a big sister for anything. It's one of my favorite titles I hold. All right. So this is one of my favorite family memories. So at the time, my family was living in California, and we were just on our way home from Utah from a family reunion. And we were in the middle of the desert, and we needed gas for the car. And so my dad was driving, and he's like, oh, we could make it over this hill and just kind of cruise down to the next gas station. I was like, yeah, right. It's not going to happen. And so then, yes, you guessed it, we ran out of gas in the middle of the desert, and it was us three girls, mom and dad, and Jeffrey. Jeffrey was still really little at the time. And so my dad and I just started to walk, and there were tons of semi-trucks just passing us, rumbling. You could feel the vibrations on the freeway. And within 30 yards, this nice man picked us up and gave us a ride and to get gas. And then the funny part about it was that one of my older sisters, that she wasn't really upset that we ran out of gas in the middle of the desert. She was upset that we were going to miss the second season of American Idol. I just give her a hard time, so yeah, it was one of the most funny experiences on a road trip. I would consider myself one of the luckiest people when it comes to my family. I come from a very loving home, and both my dad and stepmom, they're great parents, and so is my biological mother. She is someone that I could confide in. And I got really lucky that my siblings became my best friends. And my two older sisters and I have always been close. We could always count on each other for always having a friend to play with growing up. And when my two little brothers came into the family, that love just strengthened even more, and that they make our family complete. And one of my favorite memories with the whole family is when we're all home for Christmas. And we all get to play all the fun games, and it's like some of them are like really outrageous. It's like you yell at another person, and if you laugh, you're out. And that's how awesome my family is. There is never a dull moment, and we all just love each other. So I got accepted to go to BYU Idaho in 2007, and thinking about it, I wasn't probably a good idea to leave BYU Idaho as the only college I applied to, but I knew deep down that I would get in, and I knew that it was the only school I wanted to go to, mainly because I had tons of family that was attending that school. My 2 older sisters were there, and I had 2 or 3, 4 other cousins, and it was a family party. On the weekends, we would just get together, play games, play Guitar Hero when it first came out, and we would always have family dinner at my aunt's house, who lived the town next over. And that is what made BYU Idaho special. It was a family affair. We would always have a friend or 2 to hang out with. At BYU Idaho, I got involved with university choir pretty quickly. I believe it was my freshman year, that I started with that choir. And in that first year was so special because that was the year that the Rexburg Temple was dedicated. And as a choir, we put on this whole choir temple concert. It was unforgettable. The feeling there was so strong, and being there because we all love music and celebrating the Rexburg Temple that we finally got to get. So it was unforgettable. And along with that, another production that we got to be part of was that same year, I believe, or the next year. And we got the BYU Idaho put on Savior of the World. The choirs, we got to be the choir that we weren't on stage, but we were up in the rafters. And people thought it was just like a recording that was playing in the background. Like, nope. There were live singers that had to learn all these hard arrangements. And it was unforgettable. I made some of my best friends at BYU Idaho, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Another activity at BYU Idaho that I got to try was snowboarding with some of my roommates my freshman year in 2008. And it was quite the extreme. And so we went up Kelly's Canyon, and they tried to teach me. I think I was not catching on. It was just too hard, whatever. And then I didn't do the bunny hill because it was really iced over, not safe. And so my first shot was the actual hill. And so when I got on top of the hill, it was daylight still. When I got to the bottom of the hill, it was nighttime. I just kept on biffing it every couple feet. It's like, yeah. And so I finally got the gist of it my second run, but I finally got balance and like, cool, I'm catching up some speed. And then it struck my mind like, oh, wait. I do not know how to stop. Nope. And it's like, oh crap. So I hit a bump going at a fast speed, and I just flew down. It's like I face planted, my legs and my snowboard went behind my back, hit me in the noggin. Then all of a sudden, here comes Ski Patrol with their toboggan and put me on their sled, zip me right up. I felt like a dead corpse. It's like, it was so embarrassing. People were just staring at me. And so that ride on the toboggan was my longest ride without crashing into the snow. So, hey, what can you do, right? And so it's like, yeah, they say like, yeah, you have 2 sprained ankles and a sprained left knee. Like, great. So I just went away there with like a cardboard leg splint. And then that was that. So growing up, I started to realize of how much I really enjoyed sports, mainly because all of the cool kids did it. And so I begged my mom and dad to put me on a soccer team when I was in the 5th or 6th grade. And mind you, everybody else that was in the league, they played longer than that. So I was kind of intimidated, but I was determined to put out all my hard work. And so as we started practice, I didn't have any practice shorts or anything, so I would just wear my jeans that would just get in the way. And I would often be made fun of for my performance. And I surprised myself because I didn't let that bullying get in the way, and I just took it as like, okay, I'm gonna work harder and prove everybody wrong. And that season with soccer, it was amazing. And my team made the playoffs, and then to my surprise, I was chosen as one of the 2 goalies on the all-star team for that city. And probably my all-time favorite memory of soccer was that I was on the all-star team. I was playing goalie, and regulation came by. The score was tied. The first and second overtime went through. The score was tied. And for you who know what happens next in the game of soccer, it's a game of, we had to do shootouts. And that was the most intimidating thing I ever been through my whole life up until then. The nerves were in. And so luckily, I blocked that last shot and my team won. I felt like a champion. It was the best feeling ever as a 5th grader. And hard work does pay off. My first high school I went to, it was a 4-year, so it started in the 9th grade. And I was playing basketball for several years, and I decided to turn to basketball when I decided that I was going to end up being tall, so I might as well put my height into good use, right? And so I tried out for the JV team at high school, and during the tryouts, the coach came up to me. He's like, "Laurel, I want you as my captain." I was like, "What?" He's like, "You sure?" And she's like, "Yes." And who was I? Like, I was new to this school. It's like there were plenty of sophomores that could be captain, but she's like, "No, I want you as one of them." And that really meant a lot to me. And hard work did pay off, and I made the varsity team my sophomore year. And that's when I was so stoked. I made it big. I have 3 years to be on this varsity team. And then right before practice started, my family ended up moving to Utah from California. I was heartbroken, but I knew it was for the best as the family and just gotta move on, you know. And so I tried out for the basketball team in Utah, and I didn't make it. And I was like, I kind of knew I didn't make it before they put up the list. I don't know, maybe it was like intuition. And then like as I look back now, it's like I'm kind of glad I didn't make it, just for various reasons, but that just got me to making new friends and doing what what other things I love, like performing on stage. So when I was little, I wanted to be like my older sisters just so I could hang out with them. And a lot of the kids at Orem Elementary School participated in the choir and drama programs. But in order to participate in the drama programs, you have to be at least in the 4th grade. It's just like an age requirement. And so I decided to audition for the variety show that Orem Elementary School was putting on. And I remember like all these kids just scrambling around practicing their audition numbers as groups. Some are soloists. And it's like, I was so shy. It's like, I was really shy when it came down to it. And then I didn't want to, like, be, like, intrude in any other groups. And so I just came in, this little short girl just, like, walked in. And just, like, I was in the 4th grade. It's like, hi, my name is Laurel Greathouse. And then they asked me, like, what are you going to sing? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. So, like, can you imagine? So I was so nervous and shaky that I thought I was going to switch from Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to the ABCs since they had the same tune. But I didn't. And then I thought I crushed it. So as soon as I got out of the room, I just like shouted of joy and just ran home. And I got a part as an orphan for the Oliver and Twist musical number. And that's just the start of my first love of acting. So I was in middle school in California. We had a pretty good choir, I thought. We got to make some CDs, and they are somewhere hidden in my storage. I'm afraid to pull them up. But one of the most memorable choir events that happened in middle school was that we got to perform at a Disneyland competition. It wasn't actually at Disneyland, but it had to do with it. And so it was us, middle school choir, with all these high school choirs. I was wondering, like, why my choir teacher entered us in a competition with all these high school choirs. And it turned out we didn't get first place, but we beat a lot of high school choirs. So that really boosted up my confidence. And we got to celebrate with spending the day at Disneyland, so what else is better, right? So my 9th grade year, I was also involved with theater, and it was quite the cool ride. And during this time, our auditorium was under construction, so we had this commons area at our high school that had a somewhat of a stage, so we built our own stage, and we had this thing called production that was called Shakespeare in Center Courts. So we took it 4 Shakespearean plays and did like an act or two, or got the main parts out of each play and acted them out. I got to be part of A Midsummer's Night's Dream. And I was a fairy, a tall fairy, because in the 9th grade I was 5'9". And so people just like, some of my basketball teammates came to watch me and they just gave me crap about it. And so I was the tall green fairy with tights and a short skirt. It was very not me. But I was really excited because majority of my friends were in the theater. And it was just very memorable because I got to perform at nighttime. We were the last production We were the last cast to perform on Shakespeare Center Courts. And that's when, like, my love for theater has actually grown. And at my last high school, I went to Skyview. Skyview is my third high school, so my family moved around a lot. And so I got to be part of their variety show, Nights on Broadway, and it was just a song and dance show. And that's where I met two of my very good best friends. And it was incredible. And it's like, who knew that we were going to do like a hip-hop dance to the song We Will Rock You? But I do have the DVD for that, but stashed away for nobody to see ever but me. And yeah, so that's why I said that being on stage feels like home to me. So I got introduced to comedy improv briefly while I was in high school. We did some fun games while in drama class, but it didn't really start until I was up at BYU, Idaho. There were 2 comedy improv groups there, and I was in the introductory one, and I had the time of my life. So it was awesome at making new friends and building that confidence up in stage and making people laugh and just being in a happy environment. And so I did that for about a year until my time at BYU Idaho was up. And then there was a long hiatus of comedy improv. And so fast forward 4 years to 2015, that I put on Facebook, it's like, hey, I'm moving down to Orem. Anybody there that I could hang out with? Then my good friend Zach, who taught me a lot at Academy of Comedy, he's like, yeah, I have my own improv group that I'm shaping and forming, and he's like, why don't you join us? And it's like, oh yes, I'm so excited. And it was the best thing that I've done since moving down here. And it has brought so much joy, and it rekindled that performing light, and I felt like I was home being on stage. And that's how I got involved with Improv Broadway. And then fast forward like a year and a half, and then I started to take workshops for comedy sports. And so both Improv Broadway and comedy sports are in Provo. And so I'm having the time of my life with being on stage. It's where I feel home. It's where I feel happy. So when I was about 12 or 13 in California, we had these awesome sister missionaries work in my home ward. And I thought they were the coolest people ever. I just wanted to be like them. I just wanted them to come over all the time and hang out. And then when they asked me, do you want to serve a mission? I was like, of course. I said, like, yeah. And just to make them proud. But I honestly had no idea if I was going to serve or not. Because at that time, in my mindset, I was going to be either an actress or a professional basketball or soccer player. Yeah, none of those have happened. And so as time went on, I kind of knew I was going to be a missionary someday. I didn't know whether it was going to be like a member missionary, ward missionary, or a full-time proselyting sister missionary with the badge on. And so when I got up to BYU, Idaho, they had this, preparing for a mission class. It's like, oh, I want to take it. I was only 19, and this is way before the age changed. And then like if the people were kind of wondering why I was taking it so young, and then it's like, because I just want to learn. And so that fire was there. It was. So I got all my mission papers done. I was so stoked. And then it came time for like all my friends and family to guess where I was going to go on my mission. And I I kind of got kicked in the knee for saying things out loud like, I don't want to go somewhere that's close to where I've lived before. And or somewhere by the beach. And I just say, like, God has a great sense of humor, doesn't he? And so a lot of people guess, like, Nauvoo or somewhere in the East Coast. I mean, I knew deep down that I didn't, that I wasn't going to get called to foreign mission. And I was perfectly fine with that. And and so, like, even my older sister, she's like, Northern California. And it's like, no, I'm not going to go to California. And then all my other friends, he's like, but that's where you belong. And it's like, well, you just say that because I grew up there. And then it came time to get my mission call. It was a very special day. I got it on my golden birthday on May 23rd. On my 23rd birthday, I got my mission call in the mail. So it was a great birthday gift. I opened it up and it said, Dear Sister Greathouse, you are hereby called to serve as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You are assigned to labor in the... And then I paused, and it's like, what? It's like, California, San Diego mission. Like, what? I was raised like 2 hours north of it, and so I got the beach. I got to close to where I grew up, and I was kind of in shock for a minute, but in all honesty, I was excited. It's like, I'm going home, and I'm going to my people, and to that, it was very special to me. So I entered the Provo MTC on September 19th, 2012, and that was quite the experience in itself, being there. And a lot of great experiences, a lot of hard experiences. I was sick for majority of the time, so the stress level was high. But there were also a lot of cool experiences. Like, I was there to watch General Conference when they announced the age change. So the age, once they announced it, it went silent. Like, everybody was silent. You could hear, like, a pin drop. And it was quite the cool experience. Like, wow. I wish they had this. I wish I could go that early in life, but Heavenly Father knows what He's doing. He does. He knows. And so time went on, and like I said earlier, I was sick. And so I had to stay an extra week at the MTC. And just saying goodbye to all of my elders and sisters in my district was hard. And, like, I was hoping that I would go to San Diego soon. It was very hard. But a really cool experience I want to share is that for that week, I was put with a district that was 2 weeks behind me. They came in to the mission training center 2 weeks after me, and it was a very humbling experience. I mean, like, I just could tell people that I stayed because I was sick, which is true, but the elders and sisters in that new district told me that I was an answer to their prayers, to help them. And that was in itself was humbling, like, way to humble a sister missionary. It was quite the experience. I love getting to know all those elders and sisters in the missionary training center. So my first area in San Diego, so I got to my area a week later, and then the transfers. So I automatically had 2 trainers on my mission. And I truly believe that Heavenly Father knew what he was doing when he put me with Sister Riggs and Sister Hudson. Those 2 sisters did an awesome job. They're the best. And so one of the coolest experience we had as a missionary companionship, there were 3 of us, so was that they were already teaching this guy named Tony, and he already committed to baptism, but it seemed like he couldn't really let go of his coffee. And it's like, kind of need to break that in order to get baptized, right? And so we were praying, and he's like, I'll keep my word. I'll just drink the rest of the coffee I have, and it's gone. It's like, okay, we'll come back next week and see how things are. Then we came back, and then he was so excited. It's like, what are you so excited about? Then he's like, look, I found like the drink that will help me wake up in the morning. And then he points over to his shelf that had 20 jugs of V8 Splash. I was so excited for him. It was just like caught me really off guard. It was one of the cool tender mercies and miracles. One of the first cool things I saw in an investigator do. And that just showed his faith, So I was still in my first transfer out in the field as a new missionary. And I noticed that I was starting to get sick again. And I was sick, still with my heavy cough. I was sick with, I went through depression and anxiety on the mission field and didn't have any medicine to take because I didn't have it on me at that time. And so I was having a really rough time trying to figure out whether I should go home and get help. And one of the best things that happened in that transfer was that I got to go to the Mormon battalion with one of the sisters that was training me. The other one had a separate meeting. So we went to the Mormon battalion, and my companion, Sister Riggs, was rehearsing for a musical number for a mission fireside. And I was just sitting there listening to the missionaries rehearse, and I heard this thought in my head, like, open up your scriptures. Like, no. It's like I just brushed it off because I was just really enjoying the music. Kim's like, open up your scriptures. It's like, okay. And so I just I had a scripture quad, so like all sorts of scriptures. So I opened up to D&C, Doctrine and Covenants, section 75. And it was an answer to my prayer saying it was Heavenly Father's will for me to be a missionary out there at that time. It's like, okay, I'll stick it out. And boy, I'm glad I did. The next week, we had so many miracles. We had these cute girls commit to baptism, and it was a great time, and a time that I will always treasure. So, as time went on, within the next week and a half, I was on the phone with my parents, my doctor, and my mission president, and my stake president, I believe. And they all decided, well, we all decided, I decided it was best for me to go home. It was very hard. I just remember my two companions dropping me off at the airport, and I just looked back. They were crying and hugging each other, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home, try and get better, and hope for the best, and hope that I could come back out to the same mission. And so there were a lot of service opportunities that I got to participate in when I got back home to Utah. The day after, my home ward bishop called me as a youth Sunday school teacher. I loved it. It like anything teaching with the gospel helped me maintain that desire to go back out and serve as a missionary and finish my time there. And then I also got to help serve with the sister missionaries up at Utah State. This was a tender mercy alone because one of the sister missionaries turned out to be a sister that was in my zone in the missionary training center. So I already knew her. And I just felt relief when I saw her answer the door when I first met the sister missionaries. And then I got called to be a temple worker for the Logan Temple. And that was an unforgettable experience. As I look back now, I wouldn't change a thing being a temple worker. The service is awesome. And I'm glad that people looked out for me during those 6 months I was home. So 6 months went by, and at the end of April of 2013, I got to go back on my mission. And I was so stoked that I got to go back to San Diego. And I remember the first day I was there, I was so excited. My parents were there to drop me off at the airport. I was like, okay, bye, just let me go. And he's like, no, wait, we have time. He's like, I just want to go. So I was so stoked. I felt like I was all better. And and I remembered the reunion with Sister Riggs. Sister Hudson already came home, but I was reunited with Sister Riggs that night. And that embrace, that hug, I know it's like that sisterhood that we still have to this day is special. It was incredible. And I got transfers. I got put to be in the Chula Vista, 3rd Ward, I believe. And I was with 2 other people, yet again, which is awesome. So one of them was a trainer, and Sister Brown, and then I was with Sister Bishop, who was in the same time frame as me with the training aspect of it all. And then we did good. I love those sister missionaries. We witnessed so many tender mercies and miracles together. And it's something that I will always hold dear to my heart. I was going pretty good, and then a transfer later, Sister Brown went back to work at the Mormon Battalion, and it was just Sister Bishop and I. And she taught me a lot. She helped me. And then a week after Sister Bishop and I were left in Chula Vista, I started to feel that that the same illness was coming back. I tried to stick it out, and I did the best I could. And I knew if I told my mission president of what I was feeling, that I would get sent home. And when I made that phone call, Sister Bishop and I were in our car, and she started to cry, and I just held her hand and just told her everything will be okay. And not a week later, I was sent home. At the end of that transfer, I was sent home. Being surrounded by all those missionaries who had fulfilled all their 18 months or 24 months on the mission, they were excited to go home. I was the only one not excited to go home. I did not want to go home. I didn't want to worry about what other people were going to think of me, because it's very rare when missionaries are sent home early, let alone twice. And when I got home, coming down that escalator, I saw my family. And the first person I hugged was my mom. And she hugged me tight, and all she said was, "I'm proud of you." It was very hard. I was so worried of what was life going to be like now. So something learned about this is that God is aware. It's my testimony that He is aware. And it was His will for me to be home and not finish out my mission. I did the best I could. And I know He's proud of me. And I will forever be grateful to be called back to my home state of California and serving in San Diego.